Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Joy Donnell on the line, and she's founder over at SUPERJOY Media. Joy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm excited to get into SUPERJOY Media and any kind of projects you're working on over there. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career and in business?
I probably was always going to end up exactly where I was because I've always been a storyteller. And storytelling is actually something that I inherited as a generational gift. I didn't appreciate how wondrous it was and how woven it was into every aspect of our lives until I started getting older. So I thought I was going to go into law, and someone suggested publicity to me, and I thought it was the most horrible idea I'd ever heard in my life. I was like, did I offend you? What did I do to make you suggest something like that? And then I went back to school, and I was heading up a social action campaign. And I knew everybody on Capitol Hill, like I had a lot of connections in Congress and Senate. I was trying to seek refuge for a Somali woman and her daughter. And I really thought it was a matter of just like getting a petition together and sending this off to these really powerful, important people. And of course, it failed miserably and absolutely nothing happened. And I sat there and I said, what is this like publicity thing? Maybe I should take a deeper look into this. And as I started looking into it, I realized I knew nothing about nothing. And what I didn't know was a lot. And that storytelling is really the bedrock of media. Everything that we know about culture, what we believe about ourselves, what we believe to be true of us collectively, what we believe to be true of each other when we look at one another. And so I built a foundation of understanding publicity and storytelling. And then I brought that into media and actually producing content, writing content, writing scripts, writing books, having these deeper conversations about how to use media to expand our understanding of ourselves and our cultural understanding as well.
Oh man, that's great, and I think that's a great transition. Let's go further into SUPERJOY Media. So tell us a little bit more about the business, please.
I wanted to create something that was going to really up-level consciousness and use media in the exciting ways that I wanted to use media. Throughout my career, I've done things like devise and implement branded content campaigns, for example, and most of them were culturally relevant in some sort of way. They were tied to larger social understanding, cultural awareness. And I was averaging about 2 billion media impressions per campaign. And so through that inspired me to really be having even deeper conversations about how to use media in these ways that we could tap more into our understanding of ourselves, our compassion around ourselves, and our potential, and what is really driving us on the inside. So I put together SUPERJOY, and the first offering that I put out of SUPERJOY is actually my book that is selling right now called Beyond Brand. And the subtitle for Beyond Brand is Master Your Power, Joy, and Media to Live Your Legacy. I wanted to have a deeper conversation about personal branding and take it out of just the realm of, I've got to be this brand. And I've got to be this brand at whatever cost, even if it's not actually in alignment with who I am and what I ultimately want. And then maybe 10 years, 15 years down the line, you find that you've built a prison for yourself instead of a playground, right? And I've seen this happen with clients. I've seen this happen with people who wanted to redirect, but their brand had become bigger than them, and it did not actually give them the freedom to live their legacy, to actually have the cultural impact that they wanted to have because it was going to appear off-brand for them.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Right? So I wanted to have a completely different conversation about legacy and what does it look like if you actually approach the the media and your presence within the media, this building of your public image with your legacy in mind, which means that you actually have to have a holistic idea about yourself in mind, which means that you have to also be cultivating your joy, right? Your self-compassion, which is kind of rooted in all of it. If you don't understand how to be kind to yourself, how are you going to be kind to your team? How are you going to really be able to give kindness to the community that is stepping up to support your message and help promote it? How are you going to really be able to own that if you're not actually owning it and cultivating it within yourself? And how are you going to have a foundation to forgive yourself when you've made mistakes? Not beat yourself up if you actually did accidentally walk yourself into a corner, right? Give yourself compassion to actually sit down and start to think about, how can I redirect? Even though it seemed like everyone around me is telling me that I can't redirect because their monies are dependent upon me just staying in the lane that I'm in. So really deeper, more philosophical questions about who you are, what you want to build, and how to keep what you're building aligned with who you are becoming.
So, Joy, there's some, there's some business owners, entrepreneurs, executives listening here, and they're just, maybe there's some people that are a little bit further behind in terms of this thought process of brand and building their brand. So they're where you started when you first discovered, hey, maybe I need to figure this media thing out. And they're in other fields, like they're lawyers or doctors. They have all these different things to where they thought media wasn't necessarily going to be part of their life or existence. And now in the world we're at, it is. It's part of all of ours, more than just entertainment. It affects our businesses. What kind of advice would you give to them on reflecting on how to build their personal brand and really build something that's true to them so that they're not in one of these prisons that you described? Because it does happen.
Oh, absolutely it happens. And you're right. It can happen to you regardless of whatever industry and specialty you're actually diving into, right? And especially now that we have this very media-driven, social media-driven atmosphere around us that is pressurizing the conversation within us and within our groups even more than it's ever been before within human existence. So the primary thing that I would take a look at is just understanding here, right here where you are. I grew up with an understanding of here as a direction. That was one of the things my grandmother taught me, that there's actually 7 directions: north, east, south, west, up, down, and here. And here is vital, it's now, it's also tapped into the eternal. It is how you constantly figure out what's going on around you. And that process of starting with here means you got to start with what's actually inside of you and what's really driving you. So this is now your core passion, right? We got to talk about where your passion lies. If you're not doing this with real passion, then what are you doing? You're probably sleepwalking or the walking dead, right? Because you're not actually in your passion. So when you figure out your core passion, you break down the 3 core beliefs that you have in relation to that core passion. And you'll find that where that core passion and those core beliefs that you have overlap, that's actually the audience and the community that you're talking to. Those are the people who are seeking what you actually want to put out into the world. And this is where the conversation begins. That's actually the bedrock of what you build from, more so than thinking that, oh, I've got to look like this because my competitor just did a flurry of Instagram posts and all their posts look like this and I'm slipping, right? Or, oh, I've got to go ahead and change my languaging to sound like this because that's what everyone else is sounding like around me. No, that actually starts to help you tap into your voice when you see where your core passion and your 3 fundamental core beliefs in relation to that passion align. That is your voice. That is who you're talking to. That's what you're talking about. That's what's going to keep you energized. That's what you bring the energy into and actually create the exciting content around. That's what you go ahead and start to figure out the subjects of your email newsletter blasts are going to be, and how you keep giving people content that's going to enrich them, not just promote to them, not to broadcast to them, but actually benefit them. So it really is starting with you and understanding why you are doing what you're doing, what is driving you, why are you passionate about this, and what are the 3 core things that you fundamentally, absolutely are convicted about where it is concerned. And I mean conviction, as if you were actually up against the wall and gun to your head. Are you going to walk away from this belief or are you not? If you're going to stick with it against all odds, that's your conviction. And those are the things that you actually build from.
That's awesome. So, Joy, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about SUPERJOY Media or your book, or we ran out of time today, but I know you have a couple of podcasts coming out too. If they want to follow you, what's the best route for them to do that?
I'm very easy to find. You will find me personally under Do It in Public. So Do It in Public, one word, on all platforms, and my website is doitinpublic.com. And then SUPERJOY is Hey SUPERJOY. So if you go to Instagram, Twitter, any of those, and look up Hey SUPERJOY, you will find us, and we're building a community of ambitious people who are dedicated to actually living their legacy.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Joy, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing for your clients over at SUPERJOY Media. Awesome to connect. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Joy, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you.